What is happening, fellow fantasy GMs? I'm JJ Wang. He is the bearded one, it's DJ Dub. And with our powers combined, we are the Fantasy Couriers.
Oh, JJ Wang, it is championship week in many leagues. How many you got?
I got one, lost one by 1 point because the Cowboys destroyed the WFT and they failed to throw to CeeDee Lamb in the second half. So that's fantastic. How many are you in?
I'm in one. I have one where I should be because I put up 180 points, but the other guy put up 210. Let's put it this way. We're not really, we did put him, but I played against one of our pleasure players in wide receiver in every single league except the league where I had him. And the Packers really hurt me. So we'll talk about him later. But my team scored 8 less points than the other two teams combined. And one of them gets to play in the championship. It makes me kind of sick, but I'll speak more on that as we get in. But yeah, I got one, but it's the one that I really want to. You know how you always have that one league that you want to win, other leagues you'd like to win. There's always that one league, and for me, that's Bourbon because I've dynasty built myself from being basically the team that every week couldn't score diddly squat to now when I put a bad lineup in, I still am scheduled to score 180 something. So it just took a lot of hard work, but it's that sense of accomplishment and back-to-back championship games. I get to go against one of our former guests, Jeff, who predicted the WFT would go to the Super Bowl. So hopefully
And I also predicted Jeff to finish first in the league. So kudos to me.
I predicted me to finish first. So I told him in the league, I was like, you and I had it back to back. So, but everybody check us out on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, email thefantasycouriers@gmail.com, website, thefantasycouriers.wixsite.com/website. Everything is in the notes there as you see us. Hopefully, as people get back to work, we get a little traction. It was quiet last week. I'm thinking nobody was traveling and we're a good commute kind of listen. So hopefully the world comes back to us. And we didn't tick anybody off that we are getting canceled. Who knows? But we're going to keep talking. We'll listen to each other talk for a while. But if you missed us last week, welcome back. It is pleasure or pain. We're going to jump on in. We also hit us up anywhere. Have anything you want us to talk about on the off season? Throw it in there because we're going to start planning that off season. We'll give you an updated schedule where we're going to head. But we'll talk about that as time goes on. But let's jump right into week 16. It was an interesting week. It seemed like guys either scored a boat ton of points or a boat ton of none.
Yeah, there were some big games, a couple running backs that come out of nowhere, but we'll get to that in a second. But probably the biggest game of the day probably belonged to Joe Burrow, 500 yards, 4 touchdowns. He had another touchdown, but it was called back there, and they just kept throwing. I think the other coach was kind of mad, but because they could. But Burrow, it is what it is. You get games like that, you just want to throw all the time. So kudos to him, 500 yards, 4 touchdowns. We got Josh Allen pretty much cemented his number one QB for the second year in a row. It was also a big game for him personally, going in and having a big game against the Patriots like that. He pretty much dominated them. He had 314 and 3 touchdowns to go along with 64 yards rushing. He's been rushing a lot lately too, to go with that terrible run game that they got. And then I wanted to ask you a question. We had Davis Mills, who had 254 yards and 2 touchdowns, right? And then we also had Zach Wilson, who didn't have a good game, but he had that 70-yard touchdown, I believe. So my question to you is, going into next year, who's going to have a better fantasy year, Davis Mills or Zach Wilson?
I mean, who's a better player is Davis Mills. I don't believe in Zach Wilson whatsoever. I watched him play. I have a buddy who I was talking to last week who swears Zach Wilson has the best cannon arm he's ever seen, but he also wears a nice green shirt all the time that says Jets on it. But I didn't think it, but just watching the way Mills has been playing, Houston.
Don't pull the train, buddy. Don't pull the train.
Houston would be foolish to not consider just picking up other pieces, give Mills another chance. And if they need to, draft a quarterback in 2 years. If not, I know that one of the concerns, I believe there was a knee concern with him long term. But you never can tell with issues. I believe there's a knee concern with Frank Gore, and look how long he played. So the way he's playing,
Yeah, I
it's
mean,
him by a mile.
Davis Mills has a pedigree. He was the 5-star quarterback coming out of high school, going into Stanford. Like I say, he was getting injured, but maybe now he's just fine. Maybe he was more of an NFL quarterback than he is a college quarterback. He's just that guy. But that's what I'm hoping for. So, but yeah, kudos to Davis Mills. Nobody believed in him coming in except me.
Yeah.
So I'm all over it.
Joey Burrow, man. Yeah, I told my buddy I'm playing against him in my championship game. I said, I sure hope Joe Burrow got that out of his system. And this week, the Chiefs slow him down, but not Joe Mixon. So, yeah. And future is bright for Josh Allen, I hope. We both have him in some dynasties. And we'll see where he goes. But
yeah, he was not very often quarterbacks, players repeat, number one fantasy. It's pretty hard to do. But Josh Allen did it. Started off a little, had that rough stretch in the middle, but kudos to him. Hopefully they can make the Super Bowl and make me look pretty smart.
Is he your number one quarterback going into next year? We'll talk about that offseason, but would he be your number one right now?
I think he's my favorite player, so I'm not gonna
Okay.
I'm not going away from him.
We got the blinder goggles on, so I have to look at it. But yeah, I'm probably there with you though. I mean, it's gonna be what him, maybe a resurgent Kyler.
Yeah, it's gonna be the same people, Mahomes.
Mahomes.
It'll be the same guy,
Would Dak be in the conversation after this week?
I mean, maybe if he can be a little bit more consistent. He's too inconsistent at the moment. He has big games, bad games. I mean,
now you're gonna hit some garbage.
He'll play like Boot next week, but it's neither here nor there.
Files coming up.
I hate the Cowboys. Anyway. Going back, switching over to the running backs, we had some big games from people we didn't think was going to have some big games. We got Rex Burkey coming out of nowhere. Even not coming out of nowhere. He's been relevant lately, but 22 carries, 149 yards, and 2 touchdowns.
Surefire waste of a touchdown.
I know, right? But I think people probably started him at some point this
week. There's only 4 teams playing in your league, and you had to start Rex Burkhead. You were in dire straight. I mean, I did play.
Maybe you're Justin desperate, Jackson. But yeah, we got Justin Jackson. He had 64 yards and 2 touchdowns and 9 catches for 98 yards. That was pretty impressive. And then, of course, we had Damian Harris with 100 yards and 3 touchdowns. So I got 2 questions. Let's say Austin Eckler was out next week. Who would you prefer to start, Burkhead or Justin Jackson?
Justin Jackson by a mile.
Not you don't believe in Burkhead at all.
It's not that I don't believe in Burkhead at all. I believe Justin Jackson is a better player. I love Burkhead's that lunch pail kind of running back who you're going to play if you really, really are like sweating it. And he has decent game every now and then, but I just don't see it happening again. I think the Chargers are just flat. You don't get rolled by the Houston Texans. They're not going to roll a team like that. They're not good enough to do that more than once a season. They just did that because, well, they knew my Dolphins wanted to go to the playoffs, and we got some tough sledding ahead. But I just don't think the Texans can repeat to that extent now. If you're in dire straits, and if you got to pick 2, you're picking Jackson. If you need a running back and you're in the championship game and you can win with Rex Burkhead, good golly. That would be amazing. But
I mean, you could be surprised if some of these teams in the championship ended up having to have. I mean, there's been a lot of injuries. So I mean, Burkhead might win you a championship. But switching over to Harris, how do you think things go back to normal when Stevenson comes back?
I think they're still going to split it because they don't want to wear somebody out. It's a smart NFL play. I mean, realistically, did I put Harris in there when I did it, or did you switch him in? Because
I think he was in there.
I think I put him in there because it wasn't statistic. I mean, it was 3 touchdowns, but the yardage per se wasn't normal, what you would figure, because the Patriots had been running the running backs a little more, just because they were also losing. They were playing from behind, but it wasn't a ginormously like you look at Burkhead. What was it? The number was 20 for 148 or something like that.
I mean, 18 for 103. I mean, that's over 5 yards to carry.
Yeah, so I think it still goes back to split because that's Belichick's a smart coach, and that's what smart coaches will do with running.
Yeah, I think
they're not going to wear them out.
I think it goes back. I mean, this is just what Belichick always does. I think he seems to like both of them playing into his game plan. But if one is ever out, it's definitely worth starting the other one. So
that's what I thought last week, but it didn't pan out too well.
It doesn't, but like not everything always pans out in life. Switching over to the wide receivers. We got AJ Brown. I think at the Thursday game, correct? He had
Yeah.
11 catches for 145 yards and a touchdown. That was his first game back. Then we got Devontae Adams. Let me see here. Where is he at? Devontae Adams had 10 for 114 and 2 touchdowns. And then who else did I put? T. Higgins. He had 12 for 13. Jesus, 194 yards and 2 touchdowns. So we had some big games from our receivers. AJ Brown, his first game back. So we know Tannehill was going to enjoy that. Finally got a receiver to go to. And of course, Devontae Adams. Where does you think Devontae Adams repeats this same thing again next year?
I think he's got a couple more years in him. I mean, he's not. How old is he? Off the top of my head, I could not pull it up.
29.
Yeah, so he's 29. So I think you got probably 2 more years. Well, let me rephrase that. Where's he playing next year? So this will be a discussion come March. Is Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay? I'm hearing more and more that he might stick around. They say he's having the most enjoyable year of his career. So I think, is Adams getting the ball from Aaron Rodgers or some rookie or Deshaun Watson or Tyler Huntley? It's not Jordan Love. He looks terrible. So if it's Jordan Love, no. If it's Aaron Rodgers, he's got a couple more years.
Yeah, I don't think Aaron Rodgers is going anywhere. I think he ends up staying. But
that's where his bread's better.
Yeah, I mean, especially if they win the Super Bowl, I feel like they'd have to stay and run it back. Maybe if they lose in like a terrible fashion, they might leave. But like things just bottom out. But we'll see. I mean, he's great. I think he's one of those receivers that could kind of like Adam Thielen, where he's still putting up points. 32, 33.
It won't be this gross though. Like, this is amazing numbers he's putting up. Like, I think 2 more years of this just amazingness, then at like 31 he'll do what Thielen's doing, which is, I mean, Thielen's not going to put up Adams numbers, but he's going to be 60 in a touch, 50 in a touch.
I mean, he's going to be relevant. He's going to be relevant for a while. I mean, he's just a really good player. Switching over to the tight ends, we've got Mark Andrews, who's just been on a tear lately. He's now the number 1 tight end. And then we got Kyle Pitts, who's quietly having one of the greatest tight end seasons of all times, even though coming into the season, we all predicted him to have a great year as a tight end, which he is doing, but he's just not having that, everybody wanted that wide receiver 1 type numbers, which he would most likely have if he would get some touchdowns. He's only got 1 touchdown on the year. So if you put that up to 2 or 3 touchdowns, that bolts him up to like tight end 3 or 4. So, I mean, minus the tight ends, I mean, you're getting what you expected out of Pitts. And is Andrews tight end 1 going into next year?
That question right there, I tossed in because I'm wondering, has he leapfrogged George Kittle due to health, or are they neck and? I mean, Kelsey's probably one.
He leapfrogged George Kittle because they take George Kittle out of the game plan. They never take Mark Andrews out of the game plan. You're not going to see a game where Andrews has 2 catches for 12 yards. That's not going to happen.
True.
You've had 2 of those in the last 4 weeks for Kittle. So I think that's what makes Andrew that number 1 guy.
And the thing is, I wonder, he's been better without Lamar. Did you notice that last couple weeks without Lamar? He's
killing it. But the last few games before Lamar got hurt, he was
still good.
Andrews was starting to come on. Like, the beginning of the season wasn't the greatest, but he found his stride. Him and Jackson were playing really well together. But it just goes to show you that it doesn't matter what quarterback in there. Andrews is good. So
it also shows the growth of tight ends, that tight ends aren't necessarily, like Kyle Pitts is an anomaly. I traded for him in one of the leagues, one of my dynasty leagues a while back. People gave me flack, but it takes, like, Andrews has been a usable tight end since his rookie year, and he got better each year. So tight ends aren't like other positions where they peak so early that star is shining. I still think Kelsey's 1. I think he could argue for 2.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think he'll end up. I think he'll be that number 1 guy. So we'll see how it works out. I'm not a tight end guy, so I probably won't have him anywhere. So
he's in my championship team along with Kelsey.
All right, switching over to the pain. Some of these were just god awful, dreadful. We'll start with the worst one. Hopefully this doesn't continue next week. But I really need him in the league. Matthew Stafford. He had 3 interceptions, 197 yards. By far, probably his worst game of the season. And then we got your boy Mac Jones. You jumped on the train a few weeks back, had 145 yards, 2 interceptions, and a fumble. This probably could be his worst games. Do you take anything out of either one of those?
Well, I'm hoping Mac Jones keeps that up from a reality with the end of the season coming. Mac Jones is. I think I jinxed him. I am the death blow to a quarterback, apparently. But then again, Mac Jones is not going to be Matt Stafford in any sense of the gunslinger kind of world. Whereas Stafford scares me because he's had a couple weeks that have not been up to par. He's made some knucklehead choices in his passes. And that one would worry me more. Like, I know that you're probably a little like, oh, crud, I'm in the championship game. I got to hope. I mean, I don't think he's going to throw 3 interceptions and a touchdown. You just notice his numbers have been down, but they were also saying during the game that really what could be saving the Rams in my Super Bowl pick is Sony Michel. But and Henderson's injured, so we should have mentioned that on the injuries. We'll hit that up on Thursday, but Henderson's injured. Sony Michel's there. Cam Akers might play. Good golly, Miss Molly. But Stafford is going to be relegated to the Mac Jones type quarterback. I think they're realizing that if they want to win. And I'd be worried a little bit. He could still blow up, but Mac Jones is a game manager. Stafford's a gunslinger, and he just slung the wrong way.
Yeah, I'm not too worried about Stafford. Sean McVay likes to chuck the ball down the field, so that's what the Rams do. They chuck the ball down the field.
Miss Shanahan him, didn't you?
Yeah, so I mean, it's all good. I'll take it. So switching over to the running backs, we got a couple injuries here. We got, and then with just
terrible.
So we got Miles Sanders. He had 7 for 45, so he's on his way to a good game. And I still don't think he scored a touchdown all year, so that seems to be a problem. Every other running back can. Miles Sanders can't. We need to get that fixed. We got James Robinson. This is unfortunate. Tore his Achilles. I think he only had like 1 point at 10 yards. So this could really affect him going into next year. I don't want to say it might end his career, but with ETN coming back, it might really put him onto the back seat there. And it's being undrafted. He's only got a 3-year contract too. So this is going to be his last year with Jacksonville unless they decide to resign him. And then we just got Saquon Barkley. Terrible game. Terrible team, no receivers, quarterback sucks, offensive line is terrible, 15 for 32, 1 reception for -4 yards. Is Barkley a top 10 running back next year?
By name only. I hope he's a top 10 running back. I got him somewhere. Don't listen to anybody if you want. I might have to try to move him on name itself, maybe for a pick or something. But yeah, it's scary. Like I thought he was going to bounce back. I was a firm believer. Like I didn't think he'd be a number 1. I was still looking. I think I probably had him at like 5, maybe 6. Like I thought he seemed like too good of a player. Is he going to be that guy that injuries just slow his career? Is it the injuries like just slowing him down with the conditioning? Or, I mean, the Giants are terrible. Like I wrote in the docket, like I put just the Giants quarterbacks could possibly have been our bust to our pains. But is it the team? Is it the injuries? I don't know.
Yeah, I think the team. That team is really bad.
You think he'll bounce back?
No, I'm not a Barkley fan. I mean,
I was top 10. I mean,
I wasn't on the Barkley being in the top 10 this year. There's no way I'm going to be on the train and be a Barkley in the top 10 next year either. So
I used to be a Miles Sanders truther, being like, if you look at numbers in college, Sanders was better in college than Barkley.
But yeah, Barkley a lot of people are better than a lot of people in college.
In the same system, though, like same system, just 1 year later. So
yeah, but I'm not a fan of Barkley. He's one good run, kind of like Josh Gordon. You're going to be betting on Barkley for the next 10 years just because he had that great rookie season. Switching over to wide receiver, you got Tyreek Hill, 2 catches for 20 yards, maybe. Is that
made my day?
19 yards. They had Russell Gage put up a stinker after a couple good games in a row. He had 39 yards and a fumble. I would have won that league if he wouldn't have fumbled. I wouldn't have needed CD Lamb's. I just now noticed that I would have needed CD Lamb's 1 point in the second half. This dummy didn't fumble. And then we got Keenan Allen here. I just want to talk about Keenan Allen, 4 for 35. I mean, it's Keenan Allen. I'm not really too worried about him. But you already got. My bad.
Realistically, two of those three guys are the reason I'm in the championship game. I had to go in this week without Lamar and without Kelsey. And I'm like, I'm going to get rolled. I wrote to my buddy. I said, I'm going to get rolled, but I'm against Tyreek and Keenan Allen. So I was, and then I look up and I'm like, good grief. My buddy had both of those guys lay stinkers. And I did not see that coming, especially they were both in plus matchups. Tyree, I mean, they rolled the Steelers and Keenan just stunk. I don't even know it. Like they're anomalies. If I have those guys, I'm just ticked because I lost a game. But it's just a terrible time for that to happen. And both those guys happen to be against me, as well as one of the tight ends coming up. And so it was
that's fantasy for you, man. These guys poop the bed. But to be fair, I mean Tyreek has these games. I mean, if you got Tyreek, you got to know that these kind of games are coming. He's a boomer bust receiver, mostly boom. But when he busts, I mean he busts. I mean he busts really bad.
And Keenan's consistent, so that's the hard one. I think that's the harder one in the grand scheme. And Tyreek is hard because there was no Kelsey. You expected Tyreek to go bonkers. We're going to talk about who went bonkers in a moment. It's just odd.
Yeah. So switching over to tight ends. Goddard, he should have had a better day. I think he had a touchdown called back, and then he was wide open on one touchdown that Hurts didn't even see him. There wasn't anybody within 10 yards of him. So I'm not too worried about Goddard. And then Gronk, not Patriots. Bucks really didn't throw the ball that much. They jumped on top. The only one that did any business was AB. So good to have him back. And we had a Keyshawn Vaughn sighting. Yeah.
Yeah. I got him for you.
But,
it was a little. Luckily, my team was out of a playoff game, but I played Gesicki over Goddard last week because of the good matchup. And if I'd have been in the game this week, I'd have played Goddard Goddard and Gronk did disappoint though. In a tight end landscape that's not deep, those two guys you would depend on. Like if you're in the championship, if you're in championship games, those two guys are probably on your team because they've been good, and they are as. I think Gronk's going to return. I don't know. Goddard's probably fallen into that top 6, top 7 tight end talk for next year. Gronk, if he comes back, would be right there with them. So these aren't like putzes that were rolling out, you know. So especially in a thin position with those guys laying stinkers, it does not help you. It does help me because I was against Gronk as well. So, yeah, there's some pain, there's some pleasure. As we get into the new year, hopefully there's a lot more pleasure for me than my opponent this week. Sorry, Jeff. And hopefully for you as well. Hey, you play Jeff too. We both play the same guy this week. That dude's in 2 championships.
Yeah,
he did. So that's why he was on our show earlier this year. I guess he knows more than the two of us combined.
Yeah.
Jeff, we're selling you the show. It's all yours. So let's go to the most popular segment in sports entertainment, the surefire waste of a touchdown. You don't like that? The first one's is always my favorite. Surefire waste of a touchdown this week. We're in Philadelphia. 5-yard touchdown catch. It's a big guy. It must be Goddard. Oh, no. It is Lane Johnson with a 5-yard touchdown reception. That is definitely a
surefire waste of a touchdown. There was a bunch of linemen scoring touchdowns this week. It's crazy. We have to put that on your fantasy team. Linemen
touchdowns. you either get 1 for 5 or 0 for 0 for 0 for 0. So let's go to Kansas City. We are putting up points against a Steelers defense that was looking a little better, I thought, but boy, was I wrong. So there was one player in that team put up a 5-yard touchdown, a 16-yard touchdown. It must be Tyreek Hill. No, welcome back, early season darling, Byron Pringle. That's definitely a
surefire waste of a touchdown. But like they always say, once you pop, can't stop. That's what Pringle.
Thanks, Dad.
Yeah, no problem.
And then there's an 8-yard touchdown. This one has to be Tyreek. Nope. It is Mecole Hardman, everybody who thought was going to be the next Tyreek. That's another
Surefire way to a touchdown. 1 touchdown every 6 games. Yeah, about it.
That's all he does. Let's go to Dallas. A 1 yard touchdown catch, and I didn't even count the garbage time Cooper Rush touchdown to Turner. I didn't even count that one. So this has got to be. Oh, it's CeeDee Lamb. I know it's CeeDee Lamb because that's who you need to win. No. Amari Cooper. No, he's had an okay game. It is Terrence Steele. Who in the world is Terrence Steele? All we know is he did give us a.
That's a surefire waste of a touchdown. I don't even know who that is. I don't know what a lot of these guys are.
These are some no name pullers this week. Arizona 24-yard touchdown catch. I'm going to assume it's Zach Ertz because no, not Zach Ertz. Connor's out. No D Hop. Oh, of course. I should have known it was Antoine Wesley with a 24-yard touchdown catch, and that's a
surefire waste of a touchdown.
Oh yeah, what in the world?
I've never heard of that guy.
Let's stay in this game. We have a 14-yard touchdown catch in Indianapolis. Definitely going to be Michael Pittman, babe. No. Oh, wait. Desmond Patton? Who is that? He gives us a
surefire waste of a touchdown, but it's almost spelled like Pittman.
Yeah, it's just close.
I mean, it's
let's go to Houston. The old Jaguar, Chris. Oh, well, darn, I ruined that one. But let's go to the 41-yard touchdown catch. It's Brandon Cooks is out, so it doesn't really matter who it is. It's Chris Conley, and that is a
surefire waste of a touchdown.
We mentioned him a few weeks ago, so I'll do him really quick. But in the Chargers, there's Keenan Allen's no, Mike Wicks, no. He might be equaling his college stats here. This is Palmer with a 3-yard touchdown catch. That's a
surefire waste of a touchdown, even though it wouldn't take much to equal his college stats.
Yeah, that's Buffalo. There's 3-yard touchdown catch. It's another one for Stephon Diggs. Nope, it's Isaiah McKenzie. That's a
surefire waste of a touchdown. And I think I've literally had Isaiah McKenzie on every one of my dynasty teams since the draft. Since the draft last year, I've been waiting. I mean, it's not like I knew anything, been waiting for him, but it's good to know that I was holding him at least for a reason. He's got talent there.
Same reason we all had Byron Pringle and Mikael Hardman at some point, because when you have a stud quarterback, anybody
I've never had either one of those.
Well, you try to get weapons. Like I've had both those guys because I try to get on strong offenses. Quick one, not real. It's a waste of a touchdown only because of injury. 1-yard run in Jacksonville. Dare, can you say Ogunbowale? Ogunbowale. Thank you. I always get that wrong. Good for him. I always root for him, but that is a
surefire waste of a touchdown.
And I close out with the JJ Wang special. We have a 55-yard touchdown run in Tampa Bay. There goes Rojo. No, Fournette's he's out. Keyshawn Vaughn, JJ Wang's #1 draft pick from 1 year ago. That still is a
surefire waste of a touchdown. I might try to get him back.
Yeah, so JJ Wang, we're heading into championship week. That means our hearts are going to break. The fantasy season is over. Do you have any wisdom? I got a little bit to throw in there. If you got something.
Go ahead.
My wisdom is don't get disheartened. I spent last night looking at my phone going, man, if I was in the semifinals in this league, I had more points than every team. If I was in the semifinals in this league, I had more points. My team scored more points than both teams combined. That's fantasy. Fantasy's a fickle beast. And plan for the future. Make sure if you're just a regular season redraft league, join some dynasties. Most of mine are turning to almost all dynasties. I think I'll have 1 redraft left next year, and look into some DFS. Maybe I always do a league for the playoffs, but look for other ways. The more fantasy you can get, the more fun you can have, the more trash you can talk. But don't give up. Don't be disheartened. Your heart breaks for a couple weeks, but you did get 15, 16, 17 weeks of fun for a year. Remember, if you play for money, you might as well stop right now. Play for the fun. It's nice to win the money. The goal is to win the money if you're doing a money league, but it is about the friends. Like I've got new friends I've made through league. It's all about the fun, and that's what fantasy is.
Yeah, fantasy is just about being fun. But this is why we play Dynasty, so it doesn't end after 15, 16 weeks. It's year round. I just want to say good luck to everybody. I know not everybody can't win. Really, the only person I want to win is myself. So I know that other people have to win too. I just want to win one. I haven't won in like 2 years. I just want one. But yeah, good luck to everybody. And as always, trust the process. And, well, trust yourself and trust the process.